Imagine a product that generates profit without producing a single tangible thing. A product so invisible that most people don't even realize they're buying it every single day of their lives. That product is debt. But this isn't a neutral tool. Debt has been carefully engineered into the most profitable product in human history. It has financed wars, toppled empires, enslaved nations, and quietly drained wealth from ordinary people. And yet, ask most people where debt came from, who created it, or why it dominates our financial system, and they wouldn't know. Debt isn't just an economic concept, it's a story of money, power, and control. At its core, debt is a promise. You borrow today and agree to pay tomorrow. But hidden inside this promise is the secret to financial domination: interest. Charging interest turns the future into profit. And for thousands of years, societies struggled with the consequences. Ancient Mesopotamians recorded debts on clay tablets, but they also periodically wiped them clean during debt jubilees, understanding that too much debt could collapse the system. The Hebrew Bible commanded debt forgiveness every 50 years. The lesson was clear. Debt can enslave entire populations if unchecked. Fast forward centuries, and the elites learned not to erase debt but to weaponize it. In medieval Europe, the Catholic Church banned usury, yet powerful merchants and bankers found ways to profit around the rules. By the Renaissance, families like the Medici built empires on lending rather than armies or land. Kings, popes, and merchants became their clients, and money became power in motion. The real turning point came in the 17th century with state debt. When the Dutch Republic fought Spain, it raised money by selling bonds to its citizens. Suddenly, wars no longer depended on gold in a king's treasury. They could be funded indefinitely. England copied this model, and the creation of the Bank of England in 1694 formalized national debt as a permanent institution. Governments no longer borrowed for emergencies. They lived on debt, rolling it over endlessly. And those who controlled the debt, they became indispensable. Lending to governments was the safest bet because states could raise taxes to pay creditors. Wars that once bankrupted kings could now be financed indefinitely. And the loop continued. More wars, more borrowing, more power for creditors. By the 18th and 19th centuries, London, Paris, and Amsterdam were the beating hearts of global finance. Armies marched, ships sailed, colonies were conquered, all on borrowed money. And this wasn't just about nations. Industrial capitalism brought ordinary people into the cycle. Railroads, factories, and infrastructure projects were funded by debt. Workers earned wages from companies financed on credit, and then they borrowed to buy homes, tools, and goods. By the 20th century, debt became the everyday product of modern life. Mortgages, car loans, credit cards, student debt. A promise turned into a trap. Every interest payment transferred wealth from the many to the few, repeated endlessly. Debt was no longer just a financial arrangement. It became the engine of modern capitalism, requiring no factory, no raw materials, only time and trust. Those who understood it earliest, merchants in Amsterdam, bankers in London, financiers on Wall Street, became the architects of a global system that manufactures, expands, and depends on debt to survive. By mid-20th century, debt wasn't just for emergencies. It had become the lifeblood of global finance. Bretton Woods institutionalized this reality. IMF and World Bank loans were framed as assistance, but behind the rhetoric, debt became a tool of political control. Nations borrowed, but only under creditor-imposed conditions. Borrow too much, and sovereignty eroded. Policies weren't written in capitals. They were dictated in Washington or Basel. Meanwhile, ordinary citizens were quietly drawn into the system. Post-World War II banks sold debt directly to households. Mortgages became the crown jewel of middle-class aspiration. Car loans, furniture installments, and eventually credit cards normalized borrowing as a way of life. Buy now, pay later. The future would take care of itself. For banks, it was a goldmine. Interest from millions of households created compounding profits. For governments, consumer demand fueled by credit created the illusion of endless growth. Debt became the hidden engine of modern society, infinitely scalable. But here is the most crucial, yet mind-bending fact about modern debt. When a bank issues you a loan for a car or a house, it doesn't hand you someone else's savings from a dusty vault. It literally creates that money out of thin air. Through the mechanics of fractional reserve banking, your signature on a loan agreement generates new digital currency into existence. You are paying interest on money that did not exist until the exact moment you agreed to borrow it. The system actively requires your ongoing need to consume in order to expand the money supply. The danger? The system thrives on expansion. Banks don't want debts repaid. They want them rolled over. Governments prefer borrowing to taxation. Central banks ensure liquidity, keeping the engine spinning. Debt isn't temporary. It's the permanent architecture of the financial system. Developing nations learned this the hard way. Latin America, Africa, and Asia borrowed heavily, encouraged by Western banks. When interest rates spiked in the 1980s, nations like Mexico collapsed under debt. The solution? More loans, harsher terms, managed by IMF and World Bank. Ordinary citizens faced austerity. Elites and creditors collected interest. Meanwhile, debt became a tradable commodity. Mortgages and bonds packaged into securities, sold globally. Financialization turned debt into raw material. Banks could profit at every step while risk was merely hidden, waiting for the next crisis. Behind these colossal financial mechanisms, however, lies a profound human cost. We must look honestly at what debt does to the individual psyche. A 30-year mortgage is not merely a financial transaction. It is a binding pledge of your future time, labor, and energy. It forces ordinary people into a state of perpetual routine and quiet anxiety. You cannot easily change careers, take a bold risk on a new idea, or simply pause to rest when the next monthly payment is constantly looming over your head. Debt acts as an invisible disciplinarian in modern society. It ensures that the workforce remains compliant, focused, and too terrified of default to challenge the status quo. We are convinced to trade our most valuable, unrecoverable asset, our time, for the illusion of ownership. The 2008 collapse was the inevitable outcome. Trillions in mortgage-backed securities imploded. Governments bailed out banks, proving who the system really serves. Yet debt didn't shrink, it grew. The crisis justified more debt, enabled by central banks. Debt had become indispensable. Governments, corporations, households, everything depended on borrowing. Without it, the system would collapse. Every dollar represents a promise, every promise a transfer of wealth upward. Debt had become the perfect business model, requiring nothing but confidence and state protection. Now, as central banks explore digital currencies, debt is evolving again. Programmable, traceable, controlled at the code level. Loans approved or denied by algorithms, interest adjusted in real time. Efficiency for creditors means less freedom for debtors. The lesson is clear. Debt is never neutral. It turns time into money, shapes society, and concentrates wealth. To understand debt is to understand why financial freedom is never freely given. From clay tablets to mortgages, Dutch bonds to Wall Street derivatives, the pattern repeats. Debt enriches the creditor, burdens the debtor, and shapes the world. And the cruelest trick? We celebrate it. We call it progress. We mistake borrowing for prosperity. If this gives you a new perspective, hit subscribe. History has the answers. I'll show you where to look.